Let's talk about how the West or the UK is a trap and how to avoid these traps. First of all, we have this mindset of if you have a high income, therefore you are rich. Now, we get all these ideas based on our upbringing and so on. We grew up on this idea that for you to be successful in life, you need to have a very good career. So you're encouraged from day one to perform really well at school. Why? Because we are preparing our children, or we were prepared to be in the capitalist society. Well, in capitalism, all that matters is making sure whatever they're doing is profitable, or you're making sure your investors are happy. So basically, it's profit. So when you look at the UK or the West, we may feel like they're doing us a very big favor by lowering the visa requirements for us to come and do nursing here. No, they're not doing it for you. They're doing it for them. And that's what benefits them. Because it's all about getting the economy running and making sure that everything is running smoothly. Of course, you can argue and say, well, what's wrong with that? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But what you'll find is, in the long run, you're going to get into stumbling blocks which you can't change or you can't fix because those factors are not controlled by you. For example, if you're a high income earner and let's say you're taking home 4,000 net or 5,000 net, automatically you are in the top, I'll say top 5% earners in the UK. But what happens is there are certain factors that can affect you. For example, if there is an inflation, right? Inflation goes high, but your salary does not go up as high as the inflation. There can be policy changes. There can be interest rates. There's so many factors, and these factors I've just mentioned here, and there are many more. You cannot control those. So the mistake people make is confusing income as wealth. So a lot of people think they are wealthy because they are high income earners, and that is a problem. You see, when it comes to wealth, you need to be in a position where you're making money without being actively on the job. A very good example about that is stocks. Your stocks can actually make money while you're not actively involved. Now, I'm not saying go and do stocks. There is a skill set that's needed, of course, to be able to do that. And personally, I know of people that have actually lost money through these stocks. So it's just an example of something that makes you money while you're focusing on something else. So when you're formally employed, it is very, very easy for you to feel like, hey, you know what? I'm cool. I got a very good job. I'm all set and everything is good. But I am going to be talking about a few things that can affect your job. And this is AI. Okay, we're going to get back to that. So what you need to do in order for you to be free from this trap is to use that income and turn some of that income into assets. Assets make you money, okay? You want to turn your income into assets. I want to keep repeating that because that part is what a lot of people don't get. If you're on high income, you want to make sure that you take that high income and buy assets or build assets that make you money. That part is very important because if you don't do that, you're going to find that with your high income job, if the Lord takes you, that's the end of the money. Your wife is not going to benefit from that because you're not longer at the job. Your children aren't going to benefit from that because you're not longer at the job. So sometimes we feel like, oh, we're good. We got a very good job and all is good. There are so many factors that can affect us. And this is where now we leave problems for our families. And personally, this is something that I'm trying to build every day. I'm trying to improve because I'm just like you. We grew up in a situation where we were workers. That's all we were. We were brainwashed. We were conditioned to be workers. And that is why even if you look at Zimbabwe right now, if things go wrong, we talk about farming, everyone goes mad. They don't want to hear about farming, right? They don't want to hear about anything other than working for someone, because that's what the education system is about. No one teaches you to be an entrepreneur. That's where the challenge is. So you need to convert this income into assets. And when you create those assets needs to have systems as well, because it's very easy to lose money. I'm sure you heard my story. You've been watching. If you watch my YouTube channel, you'll see that I have a story that's going on there, right? I make a decent amount of money, but I don't want a situation that when something happens to me, my children cannot benefit from it. And this is why I decided to create assets. Part of it is the activities that are happening at the farm, right? I could, if done properly, by the way, with systems, I could actually earn money without me being at the farm. That's what I'm discussing in this video. I'm recommending it for a lot of people, and I'm actually actively doing it. The other problem that we have as Africans as well is we buy land. A lot of it. We just buy land. That is one of the biggest problems you can have, because when you buy land, you got to make sure that that land is producing money. If it's land you're just keeping to say, you know what, in the future, I'm going to sell it and then make money. And a lot of things can happen in between. And you could actually be in a situation where that land is actually a problem for you. People are fighting over it. There's disputes and so on. And for the most part, if it's just a piece of land just sitting there doing nothing, it can be a problem. So you want to make sure that you're using your money on assets that generate income. I have an example of a woman in Zimbabwe. She got a commission. When she got her commission, it was quite a considerable amount of money. What she did is she went and I think she had a stand already. She went and built this house, big house in one of these low density areas. So when she built the house, she thought this was, a very, very good move, because now she doesn't have to rent. She doesn't have to do any of that. In the meantime, she has children that go to private school, right? So she's spent all that money, build a house. And in the meantime, she has kids in private school. She is constantly stressed to a point where sometimes she wants to borrow $100. But she's used all that money on what? On the house. Now, I know it may feel like I'm attacking anyone that is building a house. I'm not saying don't build houses, but you have to have serious income that is divided into these different pockets. And it has to be in such a way that you're building your house here, you still have income. So if I had a big chunk of money, I would have to sit down and work out how I can multiply that money, turn that money into an asset. In the meantime, that asset, it could be, and I know I keep giving examples of farming, right? Let's say I put in 10,000 towards that. Get professionals to work with. I'm there on the ground. The profit I'm going to get from those chickens is what I'm going to use to build the house. So now you have the chicken business and you still have the what? You still have the house. Now, I know some of you are saying, I'm sick and tired of hearing farming. Okay, let's move on to using that money to buy camera equipment so you can start a business to do corporate filmmaking. Okay? So your corporate filmmaking now is what is going to pay your rent for the meantime, and all the equipment that you've bought now are making you money. You've bought a drone, you've bought specialized cameras, you've bought a MacBook Pro Max, now you're editing and all of that, right? So that money now is what you use to pay the school fees. That money is what you use to build the house. And if it's done very well, you expand the business, it grows even more. Now you can buy land, right? Now you can buy another piece of land, because the income is still coming from what? From this income generating thing that you've just built, right? So that is how you're supposed to be looking at things. Well, in our case, as Africans, we go and just buy the land, and then we decide, we will see what we can do later. You see, that's not a strategy that is going to make you financially free. It is very, very difficult. So If your net worth is less than $100,000, I would say $100,000, then you want to be focusing on activities that generate cash flow. Let me repeat that. If your net worth is less than 100,000, you need to be focusing on activities that generate cash flow. Because so many things happen in life where just one event can wipe out all your monies that you've put aside. That isn't the case for people that think, oh, you know what, I'm going to save all this money and with all this money that I've saved, pretty much that's my safety net. Yes, you need to have money saved for emergencies, but that should not be a complete plan of just putting money on the side and that's it. No, you got to make sure that you're not putting all your money into savings. And these principles that I'm discussing right now are very difficult, and this is why we fail for the most part, because we are only starting them. We have no way to go and seek advice from, right? Because our family members, none of them have been into real serious business, and none of them have really good successful businesses, right? So we are starting everything on our level, which can be very, very, very scary and very, very challenging. This is why a lot of people play the safe game. And the safe game is, we'll cross the bridge when we come to it. So you can put 10,000 in savings. You get a phone call. Such and such is not well. This could be a parent. Are you going to feel good, or at least go to bed knowing you are holding on to 10,000 pounds, but you didn't send that money for your dad to have an operation? It doesn't work. But if you have systems that are generating money, you can take that 10,000, boom, it goes to where it needs to go. But tomorrow, you know that this thing here is bringing in more money. This thing here is bringing in more money. Remember, in the previous videos, I mentioned that you need to have 2 sources of income. 3, ideally, sources of income. You cannot rely on one, which is your main income from your employment. No, it's very volatile. Very, 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 very volatile. The other mistake that we also make is we spend so much time looking rich with debt. Looking rich with debt. So what you'll find is, if you find someone has the latest iPhone 14, iPhone, okay, I have iPhone 14, okay? That's why I keep saying 14. I think now they're at 17? You find someone looking so wealthy. iPhone 17 Pro Max. They have expensive shades, expensive hairdo, expensive car, all on credit. A mortgage on top of that. But what happens is, when that income, that source of income that's paying the mortgage, that source of income that's paying school fees, helping people back home, if something happens to that, you're done. And this is why I'm saying the income is good. Use some of that money to create assets that generate money. So at least, you become financially free. And this is basically how you get rid of that trap. You see, the UK is very, very amazing. In fact, the West. I'm so lucky that I'm into advertising. Do you know that some of these commercials, some of these adverts, they make you buy things you don't need? Because these ads, they're designed using psychology. So when you look at a phone, you think you're buying a phone. No, you're buying a lifestyle. They sell you a lifestyle. When you see a Mercedes, they're selling you a lifestyle. They're saying to you, if you drive this car, people that see you are going to see you as someone who's successful, someone who's rich. Do you know that a lot of these car companies, they don't make money by selling the car cash? They make the money by selling it on what? On hire purchase, on interest. That's how they make their money. And then on top of that, they make sure that car, especially if you buy these European cars, they make sure that they make their money through servicing, through parts that needs to be replaced on the cars. So it's a cycle of siphoning money out of you. In the end, you'll find that you have a brand new iPhone, you're driving an expensive car on credit, you have a mortgage, but you have no plan, especially if you're a Zimbabwean or African. Perhaps you want to be buried back home. You'll find that you can have the latest phone and you don't even have a funeral policy. It's very common. You can have the brand new phone, no funeral policy. Brand new phone, no plan for retirement. And just on the retirement part, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I heard that the cost of care, let's say in old age, something happens, you have dementia or something, whatever it is, right? And you decided to retire in the West. It costs at least $1,200 a week to be in care. Don't quote me on that. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments box. Please correct me. Those of you who are in the care industry or in the nursing industry, you may know better than me because that's not a field that I'm familiar with. But that's what I heard. And what happens is that $1,200 a week is not being paid by benefits. This is supposed to be your money. And what they do, and this is what I heard, and again, correct me if I'm wrong. What I heard is, if you have a house, they look at all your assets. If you have a house, you might need to sell your house to sort out your care. Because let's be realistic. There is no way your child is going to be able to pay $1,000 a week. That's $4,000 a month. Who earns that kind of money? Who earns that kind of money? And besides, even if a child wants to pay for that, they have their own life too. And this is why, in the end, we are focusing on what? On Zimbabwe. It's cheaper. And there's a lot more wiggle room. You see, the West, their system is based on consuming. As long as you're consuming, you have to have a job. So my question is, you are going to consume till you die. So does that mean you have to have a job till then? For the most part, yes. Unless you have all your systems in place and you've got some money is coming through, your pension is kicking in. Even that pension, we agree the pension is very little unless you have a private pension. So this consumer industry is so powerful that if you go and look in your wardrobe, you'll be shocked to see that, at one point I had about 12 pairs of shoes. At one point. At that time, I thought, yeah, I'm making it, right? I had no funeral policy, by the way, at that time. No plan. No retirement plan. This was when I was in my 30s. I cared about looking smart. Nice shoes, nice everything, right? But no plan for those things that are very, very important. It's because even though I'm in marketing, right? That marketing engine still got me. It still got me. At one point, I was driving a Jaguar XF. If I look back, I'm asking myself, why was I even doing that? It's so stupid. Right now, every time I wake up in the morning, I'm thinking of systems that can generate me money. What else can I add to the farm that can end up making me more money tomorrow? That's what I'm spending my time on, thinking, cracking my head. Sometimes I can't sleep because I'm thinking of all these ideas. I'm on YouTube. I hardly spend time watching movies. I have Netflix. I have Amazon Prime. I hardly watch any series. I'm constantly researching. How can I do this? Oh, how can I improve this at the farm? How can I do this? How can I do that? I'm not saying it's stressful. It's exciting sometimes. But because this is a new journey, it's trial and error. You make mistakes. Sometimes I see you guys in my comments saying, oh, he failed at farming. No, I've learned. I haven't failed because I haven't given up. Who knows? Tomorrow, that same story that you guys know, tomorrow it will be a success story. So failing is not a problem. And this is what we are afraid of. We look at our country, we look at other solutions that we have in life when we say, no. I might lose this. It's all about being financially free. And this is very, very important. Now, you know what? A lot of these jobs, there was at one point in my agency, my design agency, by the way, because a lot of times when we say agency, people assume it's to do with nursing. In my marketing agency, at one point, I employed 3 young guys. 3 young guys. I can tell you right now that my business now has become single-handed. It's a one-man band because AI has come to the rescue. I don't need graphic designers. I don't need copywriters. Even my editing, I don't really need anyone to do my editing. AI is doing it for me. Even my emails. I'm actually moving a step further now to automate the whole process. AI is coming. So if you're one of those people that want to do a marketing degree, you're wasting your time. If you want to do a graphic design degree, you're wasting your time. And very soon, filmmaking, you're going to waste your time too, because AI is coming. A lot of jobs are going to go. And I know a lot of us love jobs. We want jobs, we want jobs, we want jobs. Yes, sometimes you're talking about what you want because that's how we've been programmed. So at times we need to unprogram ourselves and break those chains of those traps. And that is how we're going to get financial freedom. A lot of the times we're depressed. Our marriages are not working out. Why? Because of the pressures of what? Of the society. Generally speaking, the society is in debt in the West. Generally speaking. On average, people have 3-4 credit cards. Klarna, all these things. People are buying most of these things and they are so much in debt. I'll be very surprised if people are in a positive net worth. I'll be very surprised if the majority of people are in that stage. But you see, these are topics people don't want to talk about because they are very depressing. But these are also the things that are going to bring happiness to you. Can you imagine being stuck in the West? An emergency arises, you need to travel back home and you can't because you can't afford the ticket. You can't. Can you imagine being in that state of mind? I mean, it's so stressful. And not only that, traditionally, a man is a breadwinner. If you can't provide for your family, and now your wife has to chip in, do you know what that does to a man who has those beliefs, those traditional beliefs? It breaks you. And sometimes you'll find that in a marriage situation, some women take advantage of that to make things difficult because you're not meeting the standard. This is why you find sometimes, even if the guy is supposed to be, and I'm talking traditionally, I know things have changed, okay? Now there's feminism, there's all of that. People believe in so many other things. I'm just talking about a traditional man from Zimbabwe. His roles, for the most part, is to provide food, shelter, security, and other basic support. So shelter, that's the mortgage. He can't do it by himself. Why? Because sometimes you're caught up in what? In this trap. First of all, the income is low. And secondly, you also want to look rich. How are you going to be able to manage? You can't. So the system itself is a trap because it keeps you consuming. And at the same time, it pushes you down there. The only way you can get out of it is to turn your income into assets. Assets that generate money, that generate cash flow. Not just assets, but assets that generate cash flow. So, what are some of these things? For example, in my case, I have my main design agency, but that design agency is a problem because if something happens to me, can anyone take over just like that? No. Again, because our children are not programmed to be like that. Even my own kids, they have their own careers they're pursuing. We could have a family marketing agency. But of course, I missed the boat on that one. So when you watch my videos, don't always think that I have it all sorted. No. I'm also learning. I think our generation now, as compared to the generation we had before, we have to find our own way because what our parents taught us is not working. It doesn't work. Time has moved on. The world has moved. A lot has changed. A lot of things have moved. A lot of things have changed. So we are going to suffer in the West. And then when it's time for us to leave the earth, we're going to leave with nothing. Nothing to leave our children for. Because that house is going to be paying for our healthcare. If we are unlucky, or that house, part of it, if you don't plan your things correctly, inheritance tax is going to take it. And for the most part, if we're not careful, we will not be able to plan to have the life that we want. And if we're not careful, our marriages, our relationship with our children is going to be messed up. Why? Because we are stuck in the system. We are stuck in the trap. So when I make some of these videos, I make them because some of you are in that trap and they're trying to get out of it. And this is where we get to discuss these things, you know. YouTube has given us a platform where we can discuss these issues, you know, give each other some ideas. And again, I've created Kumusha Investors. Head over to kumushainvestors.com. This is a community of investors or people that want to get out of that trap and invest collectively in a very smart way. Because doing it alone is very, very dangerous. I lost a lot of money, tens of thousands. I'm sure you've seen my story. But I'm back on my feet. I'm still trying, but I'm single-handed. And I know I have to complete this journey because I started it and I can't give up. Anyway, guys, I want to hear your thoughts. Let's have a debate. Let's discuss this in the comments box below. If there's anything that you don't agree with me, I want to hear it in the comments box below. No insults, please. Just facts. Take care. I'll speak to you in the next one.